The reality we live in can be a very strange place. Most of the time, fact being stranger than fiction. How will we ever start to understand this reality we live in unless we question everything? Join me and a guest as we unravel the mysteries of this reality, one topic at a time. This is Inquiries of Our Reality with Shayn Jones.
What is up, Inquirers, and welcome to the expanse of deep open-minded conversation. I'm the one they call Shane, and today for you guys, I have two previous guests of the show that I was finally able to get together after a few years actually of trying, and they're here today to share some of their joint experiences with some fun conversation along the way, of course. But before we get into this conversation today, just something I want to throw out there real quick for anybody that caught the last live episode of Bizarre Inquiries. We had some technical difficulties about halfway through the episode, so if anybody got kicked out of it, that's what it was. So that episode ended up getting split into two different ones onto the YouTube, but we ended up going live again after we had the technical difficulties, and a few people dropped out. So for anybody that tried to catch it, that's the deal. That's what happened, unfortunately, but that episode will be spliced together, and that will be dropping on the normal feed on Wednesday, so you guys will be able to catch that episode. And while we're already talking about Bizarre Inquiries, the next live episode of that will be on June 6th, about 7:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If anybody wants to submit any articles or clips or anything for that, make sure you guys get them to me before then, and if not, of course, we'll just end up passing them along to the next show. And for anybody that's asking about the Patreon, it is still currently under construction. Hopefully I'll have some new stuff going on pretty soon over there. I've just been kind of busy in my personal life, so I haven't really been too able to do too much on that end, so I do greatly apologize to you guys. But for anybody that's sticking around, greatly appreciate it. But just one last quick thing before we get into the show. If anybody is interested in being a guest on the show, sharing their experiences or encounters, or contacting me for any reason whatsoever, you guys can do so through email, which is inquiriesofourrealitypodcast@outlook.com, or you guys can text or call into the hotline, and that number is 313-364-1551. And if you guys didn't catch that number, it is available down in the show notes, of course. And for anybody that's been catching the live episodes of Inquiries of Our Reality, those live schedules are being posted every single Monday, so you guys can go and catch them over on the social media pages. But I'm not going to throw it in the front as an update anymore, so hopefully at some point I'll just end up pulling this off the episodes. But again, for anybody that hasn't caught those, generally they're most weekdays around 9:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So if you guys want to catch those, you guys can do it that way. And if you guys don't want to have to follow the schedule, then you guys can always go and subscribe to the Open Minds Media YouTube page, hit the little bell notification up in the corner, and anytime that I go live, you guys will get a notification for it, and then you guys can pop in and check out the show. But every single thing that I mentioned and will mention throughout the show is all available in the link tree, which is available down in that show description. And with that, let's get into the show. Please welcome to the show, for their first time together after numerous solo appearances, the dynamic duo themselves. Please welcome to the show, Alfred Santariga and Bryan Bowden. How's it going today, guys?
I think it's good. How about you?
Awesome. Good. Thank you for inviting us here, Shane. So we've been working on it for a long time. We finally got it. Together.
I started my show I think 3 years ago now, and I think I had you guys on in under the first 100 episodes. So it's been probably at least 3 years in the making since we've finally been able to do this. And you guys have popped on multiple times by yourselves in the process of trying to get both you guys on together.
So Al's like, I just did this guy Shane show or whatever it is. I'm doing my Alfred Santariga impression. You got to talk. He's all about you because he's into theories and whatever. And it was great. And it was really refreshing because most people, I'm not Mr. I'm better than everybody. Most people don't have game when it comes to their own theories and standing by it and coming out with some complex issues, and ideas. And it was just great. I was like, holy crap. I'm finally talking to someone, that's like, what's it like seeing a dog man? Okay. It's pretty fucked up. That's what it's like. You were asking real questions. So it all worked out great.
So I'm glad that you guys at least spoke good about me behind closed doors.
Yes, we have.
I knew you and Brian would be a perfect fit too, because of just the way you think and the way he thinks. And it's like, oh my God. And I knew that would mesh perfectly.
Yeah, I just started, it worked out really, really well. And you're a great guy and you do a great job. I mean, I'm loving what you're doing now. With a lot of the when you put up the Instagram stuff, Al's got to download Instagram. I don't have it. That's all I hear from him. I don't have Instagram, so I'm gonna have to call his wife or his daughter and say,
not downloading every single fucking streaming thing in the world. No, I'm not doing it. I could care less about Instagram and TikTok. I don't care.
Yes,
but
you do.
I don't care. I'm at the point.
The guitar guys on
in this journey where I don't care anymore what I miss out. 90% of the stuff that's out there is bullshit anyway. And now with AI, forget about it.
Yeah,
I don't have time for this bullshit. Somebody sent me a thing today of a guy pulling into his garage with a dog man that followed him in his garage, and the dog man is all around the car and all this, that, and the other thing.
Oh, you saw that?
And it looks like, to me, he's watching a dog man movie. He looks like, you see that? And it looks like he's watching a Dogman movie on his windshield of his car or something. I mean, like, it's ridiculous. Come on with this bullshit. I can't deal with it. I can't. And you want me to download more shit? Get the hell out of here.
No, it's I got sent that video too, and it's like, well, first, you don't want to be in a closed space with the creatures, so you may want to back the fuck up first. It was just too convenient. That's the problem. And this is what Al and I talk about constantly. And we'll be talking about tomorrow night on my show, Third Eye Live, 8 p.m. Eastern. So, and we'll get Shayn on the show one day too, because I want to ask you like how you got into this mess. But it's like with AI between the photos and now the video, I really think it's going to be better if there should be some kind of law or something where you have to digitally encode that it's not real.
I mean,
do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's definitely gotten to that point.
Video. Yeah, because it used to be pretty like with AI. We used to, they never did hands right. It would always be like, like 7 fingers or like 3 digits, What the hell's going on with the hand? A lot of the, here's where they use it a ton. And you're not on Instagram, but I'll explain it. And I think Shayn will understand. Instagram is just some really, really hot women. That's what it is. There's tons of them. You go on Instagram, boom. And there's always somebody shaking or whatever, but you can tell that it's all AI because of the mouth. And there's certain things that it's like, that's tellable, but there's some stuff now you can't figure it out. And it could have a negative effect on everybody, especially like if we're going to go investigate something, it's supposed to be serious and someone's playing a joke. It's not funny.
I will say, at least from like all this stuff that's came from recent generations, as far as all this weird footage being uploaded, the only one that I've seen relatively recently that actually kind of feels like there might be something to it, and I'm sure you guys have seen it, the one where somebody was on Facebook Live and they were like watching this like dog man that was moving out on like the edge of their property, and it was staying out by like the power lines and like running out back and forth, and like the whole time they were broadcasting it was live. And I know that like you can alter it of course afterwards, but the original broadcast had this thing in it, so it's kind of like a hit or miss thing, because anybody can alter things with AI and everything, but at least in like certain formats, like the live stuff, you can't really manipulate the video too much for it. So at least in the current generation, I feel like the only way that you can really get something that seems somewhat substantial is if it's through live, because even like the paranormal stuff. I mean, people at this point, even on top of that, are just trying to also just get likes and follows on pages. So somebody will start up like a paranormal page, and then all they'll do is just create these like AI, like something moving off in the distance, and they're getting likes and follows out of it. So it's kind of like not even just somebody messing up the research, but just people trying to get likes out of stuff too.
You know, I mean, we're all for that.
Yeah,
you know?
it's all clickbait and shit. Yeah.
Right. I mean, you know, some of it's really fun and interesting. And then it brings up like things like, you know, I thought I brought this up a while ago. Like, what happens if you come across a rabid Bigfoot?
Like the rogues, like the ones that are just like off going crazy.
Take a rabid dog, you know, Cujo, and give that disease to Bigfoot. Like, how messed up would that crap be? And with him, Al got me.
It would be messed up.
It would be screwed up. I mean, like, but he was the one that like, Brian, you gotta listen to this stuff. There's this dog man and it's whatever. And I'm like, what are you? You're fucking crazy. He goes, no, bro, you gotta listen to it. And he's telling me all these stories. And that's when I was like, I don't know. And then we were having conversations and we would do things kind of live. And then it's when I got a phone call from somebody, all zeros. And I'm like, okay, maybe this thing is real. And then we have an encounter with it. And I'm like, oh God, this sucks. Because it, you know, I mean, they're fascinating stories. Al Santariga, I guarantee you, if you've taken every Dogman story that was ever out there in the beginning, before it wasn't as popular, Al listened to everything. I mean, like literally, he used to listen to like 3 or 4 podcasts, you know, sometimes a day, two a day, because they're fascinating. And he's a researcher and he's an investigator. And then I kind of got into it. I'm like, oh man, this is sick. This is crazy. I didn't want to believe it, but it's nuts.
Yeah, I didn't want to believe it either, but it just rang true to me, you know. And I'm a gut feeling kind of guy, and when it rings true to me in my gut, then I have to believe it. And then when I experience it for myself, I mean, it's mind blowing when you experience it for yourself. You know, people say, "Oh, I want to see these things up close and personal," and I tell them, "No, you don't. No, you don't." I had a guy reach out to me on the NADP page, the North American Dogman Project, said, please teach me how to go and find these things. And I was like, absolutely not. I'm not going to teach you. I said, first, before I tell you anything, tell me what you think you know.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of bad info out there. And if you're listening to the wrong person, you're going to go out there and get yourself killed. So tell me what you know, and then I'll let you know what I think about what you know. And I don't know if I came across the wrong way, if it was just the way I say it. My wife says I say shit that intimidates people all the time. It always comes across the wrong way when I'm just being either sarcastic or a wise ass. But I was being legitimate with this. I was like, I just want to know what you think you know. And I guess I freaked him out because he ghosted me after that. You know, he didn't tell me what he thought he knew, and I don't think he came back to the NADP page, and he ghosted me, and so I never got a chance to, you know, hear what he thought he knew or tell him what I think he should know. But I'm sure as hell not going to tell people where to go to find these things, because I don't want to be responsible for someone being killed. You know, these things are real. These things are real. They do exist, and there's no telling. Are they all bloodthirsty killers? Absolutely not. If that was the case, everybody who walks in the wood would be shredded. Okay,
but we would be dead. You know,
do you come across? Right, we would be dead. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I would have been dead 10 times already. Can you come across ones having a bad day? Absolutely. And then what? If you don't know what to do in that situation, then what? You know, and I'm not telling you where to go to find these things. You know, I'll tell you what you need to know how to survive an encounter. You know what I mean? But I'm not going to tell you where to go to find one and how to bring one in. It's not going to do it. You know, I'm just not. And people get bent out of shape, you know, like...
They do, but they don't understand the seriousness of it. They think it's comical or entertainment value. And let me tell you something. When Al and I met, almost 15 years ago, right? I think that's when we met. Prison. Okay. I'm just say prison.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Kind of, it was like a freaking prison.
Rehab.
It was, everybody, we kept missing each other because we kept going to this like once a month meeting, and it was like, if you've ever seen the X-Files where they have that meeting in like a school gymnasium with like 4 or 5 chairs and everybody's telling their whacked out story, the crazy people about aliens or whatever. It's kind of like that, but within that mix were some really, really intelligent, wonderful people. And we kept missing. And everybody's like, did you see this X-File? What was it? X-Files Al or Big Al, I forgot what your handle was. Something X-Files.
No, it was Al X-File, Santariga.
Like Santariga. And I said, no.
That's what it was back then. Yeah.
And then people were like, wow, he has these stories. I don't know what to do, what to believe. And I'm like, I have to take him by his word. I don't know. I didn't know Al at the time. But talk about like finding a brother, like literally like him and I were like, bing, we hit it off because we're both old school, new school. We think inside and outside the box. And like Al says all the time, we do this.
I'm calling bullshit.
And we call bullshit. I mean, we don't mess around with that stuff. There's a lot of things that we won't do publicly because we're not into shaming people or attacking people. We will not do that. But there's been plenty of these phone conversations. You'll believe that shit? Like, like, oh my God, where'd the guy, what was he smoking when it happened? But then again, also with these experiences, like he's coming from upstate New York to go down to like closer his old stretch in Yonkers. And I'm coming up to Yonkers. That's part of my, childhood as well. And we have each other to bounce off of stuff. He's telling me like, yo, bro, I was going down, whatever, to Conic, and I saw these 2 amber eyes and big heads, and they're bobbing, and they're kind of like keeping pace with the car. And I'm like, and of course I have to be the guy like, well, you got to go back there and check for footprints. I'm like, I'm nowhere
near the car.
Like, but this is great because we bounce stuff, crazy stuff off of each other because we know that we're going to get a straight answer. There's going to be no bullshit, and we can laugh about certain things too. So it works out. It is a brotherhood. It's not even a friendship. It's a brotherhood. And
and you know what? And I always give Brian a ton of credit for that because I thought I knew the area so well, like the back of my hand. There would be no reason for me to go back to research the area. And he kept saying, no, you got to go back. You got to go back. And I was like, oh, man, I'll get 1 day off a week. I really don't want to spend it there. He goes, no, you got to go back. You got to measure this. You got to do that. And I found so much shit when I went back that was like, it blew my mind. I was like, holy crap, good thing Brian, really kicked me in the ass about going back, and because I found there was so much.
Right.
What I thought was a little patch of woods turned out to be, there was so much different kind of food there between fish and birds and deer and corn and everything else. So way, way, way more than I could ever imagine. And I spent so much time at that junior high school because my kids both went there. My son played football there. My daughter played soccer there. And, I thought I knew everything there was to know about it, but man, was I wrong. And I always thank him for that because I would have really missed the boat on that if I didn't go back and do all that shit,
he'd send me some images. Like I kind of got a feeling, and, everybody has these psychic abilities. Some people use them, some people don't. And he'd go, I have it, and he'd send me these pictures, and I literally would sit there on my phone while I'm waiting for my kid to get out of school. I'm going like, pinch zoom. And I'm like, and then I find something. I'm like, dude, you got one right there. There's one in the image. He's like, what the hell are you talking about? And I send him the image. He goes, holy shit. Because no, it's the same thing. This is fresh eyes. Look, it happened to us. We won't talk about, because I think we both talked about our the lake investigation, but we looked
experience. Yeah.
We looked at every bit of that evidence dozens upon dozens of times, and from like small screens to how big was that TV in the library? Like 105 inches.
Yeah, it was big, and there was like 10 people there, and with fresh eyes, and we still missed a ton of shit. Yeah.
Hold on tight, guys. We'll be right back after this brief commercial break. But in the meantime, don't forget to follow Inquiries of Our Reality on Instagram and Facebook, and don't forget to check out Open Minds Media on YouTube and TikTok. I'd love to hear from you guys, so feel free to leave a comment or spark up a conversation. I love getting to know you guys. And now back to the show. I mean, just to continue on with that too, you know how many researchers I've had on the show that have like documentaries that are out, and they'll have people watch them later on, send them a message, and they'll catch eyes that they didn't even catch in it, and it's in like a published documentary that they've been over 1,000,000 times. Like, it's crazy, dude. Like, if you notice stuff, like, point it out to people, because there are documentaries that they don't even notice that they've caught eyes and stuff in the background.
I'll tell you what. I'm friends with Jay Pachochin.
That's exactly one of the people I was referring to, actually.
Okay. So I watched Finding Jay. I thought it was fantastic. A lot of people didn't like it. Like, well, this isn't Bigfoot. I'm like, you don't get it. There was some good shit in that movie. So there's a scene in the movie. I was talking to Al about it because I don't know. I don't think I knew about it because I met Jay at the Bigfoot camping weekend. And then I told you, go watch this movie because I watched it. I was like, whatever it was. Or I bought it and I think I gave it to you. I don't remember. But there's a point in the movie, in the first one, they're out. It's daytime or dusk. And they get a smell. And they get these rocks being thrown. And I'm not just watching like Al on the screen or Jay or whatever. I'm watching everything at the same time. And there's a branch there. And they go, the smell's getting more pungent. And then the branch does this by itself. And it's fuzzy. And I said, Jay, you had a Bigfoot right there. And he's like, what are you talking about? I said, look at that scene. Because these things love to mess with you. And they know Jay's a good guy. But how does a branch start to bend a bit? The only way to bend it is if you're pulling on it or applying pressure or weight. And like, there was a little bit of I'm telling you, there was a little bit of like a fuzziness, like a predator type of shit.
Did it feel like, to me, it felt like something pulled that branch down. That's what it felt like to me. And I called Jay right after I watched that too. And because he got hit with the rock and they were trying to get out of there. And I was like, Jay, no. I said, whoever hit you with, you shouldn't have ran then. I said, whoever hit you with the rock, I said, it must have been a juvenile because they don't really try to hit you. If they really want to hit you with a rock, they're going to throw so hard it could kill you. That was an accident, you being hit. But it wasn't meant to scare you out of there. It was meant to bring you closer, And he was like, oh, wow, you blowing my mind, And I was like, yeah. And like Brian said, I felt like, I don't know if you said that you thought something was standing on the branch, but I felt like something was on the branch. You thought something was on the branch. I thought something was behind the branch and pulled it down. Again, it was just the vibe I got. And but I also felt that it was a juvenile. What did you feel?
I mean, pretty much similar. It wasn't going to be a massive size creature, but I was once flesh and blood, and then we had our own experiences, and I totally changed it to multiple versions of the same creature. They have the ability to be flesh and blood and go interdimensional, but the whole thing is, if I did not have that experience. And every experience, Al and I go out, or we have, and even whether together or apart, the list of questions, gets, bigger. But then we come up with other theories, and then we're bouncing shit back and forth. And it's really good to have that. Most people don't have that, or most people that go out with people like you go out with Ken Gearhart and everybody's so about Ken because he's on TV and he's whatever. Like, don't take it the way. And this is not nothing against Ken. I don't care who you are and what TV shows and movies you've done. I don't give a shit. Okay. If you're going to go out and research it, and sometimes people don't give their opinion because they're afraid they're going to I don't want to upset them or whatever. not attack people. We don't attack people at all. None of us do. We just give suggestions. And if you're not, you don't want to do it. That's not me, man. I don't care. I'm going to be going home that night. If
Brian and I agree to disagree a lot. What I mean?
Oh yeah.
But it works for us. It really does. It works for us,
Right. And then
he's changed my mind on a bunch of things over time and stuff. Yeah. So
and we'll agree to disagree, and we'll be, put our feet in the sand, like, no, you can't do that. And then I'll be like, oh shit, I just had an experience. And then I'll go call him, like, you were right. I think you're right. Because we do this also with our psychic in Arkansas. She is very adamant about everything you see now is a drone. I still don't believe that. And I also talked to her today. She says hi, by the way. But she's like, oh, you guys don't believe me. I'm like, we always believe you. And you've always been proven correct. But we can only work on what we know and what we've experienced. That will give us more truth. You can tell us all the mysteries of the universe.
And we also have to work with, we're both very sensitive people. We have to work with what we feel too. You know what I mean? And if I'm not the type of guy that looks at everything in the sky as a UFO. You know what I mean? I got to get that little voice in my head that says, pay attention to this. It's important. Otherwise, I don't pay attention to shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if I'm getting that voice telling me, pay attention to this, it's important. And I ask a UFO in the sky telepathically to give me a sign, and it hears me and it flashes me, then I'm not buying it. That's a drone, because a drone is not going to hear me.
Exactly.
Ask the question telepathically, So I'm sorry, but I can't agree with you there, But me and like Brian says, me and Cindy, we argue like an old married couple anyway over everything, because sometimes she tells us some crazy shit, right, Brian? And we laugh at her. We ask her, what you smoking and what are you on and all of this crazy shit. And at the end of the night, when we check all the boxes, she's always right. Yeah.
So one of those things was, I think we wanted to talk a little bit about Letchworth.
Yeah. Let's start with that. I think that was the team's first investigation too.
Oh, I want to say something really, really quick before I get into that. Sure. So just kind of funny. I had Jay on the show a while ago, and he talked about somebody that had mentioned seeing a Bigfoot that was up in a tree. So it's funny that he didn't actually mention who it was, but it ironically happened to be you guys. So you guys finished the opposite side of that story. And ironically, Jay was the same person that I caught something on, because in the first film, there's a part where they're doing like night vision, and there's like a little bit of like a dip off on the side of the trail. And I ended up catching like eyes that were about 6 foot up, I'd say roughly, kind of guessing off the tree, but in like a dip. And he said, I'm glad that you pointed that out, because only one other person has ever pointed that out. And I didn't catch that when I first published the movie. So we both caught something in the same movie. And ironically, you guys finished the other half of a story that's been told on the show before. So thank you for that also.
You're welcome. I mean, like, look, I'm only trying to help him out, saying sometimes you need to, this is why we have editors, right? Like Al and I looked at all those photos for dozens and dozens of time. But when Al does the show, all that stuff's up on BronxvilleParanormalSociety.com. Someone went on, looked at the photos, went, whoop, whoop, circled a Dogman picture and a Bigfoot picture. And we looked at those photos forever, and we're like, no way. And I went on the site as soon as he said it, and I'm like, holy crap, it's right there. But you miss it. It's like trying to edit your own work, Yeah,
it's hard.
You can't do that.
Yeah. And like I said, I used to invite people who weren't on the team to come to the evidence review, just so they wouldn't have any bias about what we're discussing, what we're looking at, and to see if they see something that we don't see. You know what I mean? Like Bill's mom. When Bill's mom came in with the coffee and the cakes, and she said, what are those little monkeys doing in there? And, like, what monkeys? What are you talking about? It's crazy. We didn't see them. Yeah.
Nope.
I used to say it in the beginning of the show, and I don't know if it's an expression or not, but it seems to fit, and it works pretty well, at least in this stuff. Different eyes, different price. I mean, like I said, I don't know if it's already an expression, but I used to say it all the time when the show first started.
No, it's the truth. It's the truth. And what's great is like, so we did the first Bronxville Paranormal Society event was Letchworth Village. Al was like, we're going to Letchworth Village. And that's 28,000 square acres of space. And some of these guys have been there before. I was never up in that area whatsoever. And you remember when we got out of the car, we parked the car and everybody parked their car. And then what happened was we get out and I took a couple of pictures, and one picture is fine. Like, as a paranormal investigator, you don't just take a picture. You have to take at least 3 of them. Boom, boom, boom. Because you want to look for changes in movement. It's just what you do. Drives my wife nuts. How many of the same pictures do you have to take? I'm like, it's habit, because we do investigations. And in one photo, you have just the guys, hanging out, whatever. And then I took another one right after. Yes. And then right after, you start seeing this like smoke or
mist. Yeah,
mist.
Yeah, it was weird.
Yeah, and no one's. It's not smoke. It's not like cigarette smoke. It's
no one was smoking a cigarette. Nah. Yeah.
So it was kind of cool.
Yeah, and it was cool. It was very, very cool. Yeah, I mean, just and we had a great time there. We did a lot of investigating, and I had interviewed a bunch of people before we went that claimed they had experiences there. Someone had a chair thrown at them. The girls were having their hair pulled. Guy was pushed down a flight of steps, and yada yada yada. And the psychic said that there was going to be an old lady there, and she was looking forward for us to come there. And we're like, okay, there's going to be an old lady there, no problem. We get in there and we break up into groups of 2s. I think there was like 8 of us, and everybody had walkie-talkies, and we broke up on different floors because we didn't want to contaminate each other's evidence. And eventually we all rallied again. We met in a hallway, and we run into a group of young kids. And these kids are like, dude, we were just down in the morgue. And we got an old lady. We got an EVP. It's an old lady telling us, screaming at us, like, "What are you doing here?" And I go, so we're listening to this, and it's an old lady. And you can hear her say, "What are you doing here?" Like, to get out, chase the kids away. Here. I said, "Oh, is that what it was? You don't belong?" Something to that effect. And I said, because that's the old lady who was waiting for us to come down there. Yeah. And the kids were annoying her, because they were young. They were like 14 years old. And then at one point, we're all wearing surgical masks, because the places and
whatever. Yeah, asbestos and shit in the ceiling.
Asbestos and shit. Yes,
it's there.
Everybody's like 6 foot plus, and these kids are like 14 years old.
And there's one female. There's like 5 boys and 1 girl. And I remember telling Al, if my daughter does that, I'll fucking kill her.
And we surround these kids, and all of a sudden they realize that they're surrounded by these big dudes with masks on, and they can't see our face because we all have surgical masks on. And I say to one of the kid who was like the leader of the pack, where they go, "Who did you tell that you guys were coming here today?" And they go, "We didn't tell anybody." So, "What do you mean you didn't tell anybody?" He said, "No, we didn't tell anybody we were coming here." Why? Why do you think somebody knows we're here? And then I turned to Brian with the straight face.
He goes, "You didn't tell anybody? You didn't tell like a friend or anything like that?" And he goes, No, we didn't tell anybody that we were here." And without missing a beat, Al turns to me and goes,
"We could kill these kids and no one would know they're here." And the blood drops out of their face. And they turn right in I thought the little girl pissed her pants. I swear to God. And like, then we all just started laughing, and they're like, "Okay, you know what? We're going to leave now." It was hysterical. They're like, because they realize, holy crap, these dudes are big. These are big guys, and they were young and they were small and we had masks on and no one knew they were there. And it just felt right at the moment. You know what I mean? Yeah.
It was more than right.
We laughed so hard. It was hysterical. Then they bailed on us. The kids bailed.
Yep.
And but they did tell us where to park the cars so the cops wouldn't see them,
Yeah,
so
which was
I thanked them for that. And then we called our psychic, and she's like, and there was tell them about the downstairs in the elevator shaft, Bri.
Okay, so Al and I always split up because it's just he does his thing, I do my thing. We're within rescue range if people need the safety or whatever. So I go into this elevator. So you have the elevator room. It's where the elevator would be. And then there was an opening so you can walk in and go around the elevator. And I'm in there and people walking around. We're doing EVP sessions. And I go behind the elevator, and as quick as it comes is as quick as it goes. And I get this feeling, and I just get the goose pimples come right up, and I'm like the chilly willies, as they would say, like you just like, oh. And it went. So we were kind of reviewing this stuff, and I said I didn't really feel much anyplace else, but when I was in the elevator shaft, I felt something was there, and he said the same damn thing.
Yeah, I was at the far end of this really, really long corridor, and the guy I was working with, I forgot Ed. He was doing EMF stuff, and we weren't getting any EMF readings the whole day we were there. And I took a picture of the long corridor, and I could sworn there was a shadow figure at the end of the hallway, and I was like, "Wow, that looked like a shadow figure," So as I'm walking down towards the end of the hallway to go to that doorway with a shadow, where I thought it's in the shadow figure, because the shadow figure's head was above the door jamb, and the door jamb is 7 foot high. So I'm walking down towards it. Now, the whole day, we haven't really felt anything dark or negative, anything evil like that. Right. And I walk past this open elevator shaft, and I just get cold chills from my head to my toes. And I was like, nope, I'm not even going to look in this elevator shaft. I don't like what's here. And I called Ed over. I said, Ed, tell me, look in there, see if you feel anything, And he went over and he looked, and he wasn't really feeling anything. But I just got a vibe like, nope. It felt like that show. What's that show called? Where all the kids end up getting killed. I forgot what it's called. They get hit by buses and stuff like that.
Final Destination?
Yes, Final Destination. I felt like if I would have put my head in that elevator shaft, that elevator would have came down and killed me. Yeah. So I was like, nope, not going to do that. And I didn't tell anybody what I felt. He didn't tell anybody what he felt. No. But later on, when we were going over all our notes and everything, it was like, this is what I felt here. And I was like, holy crap, I felt the same thing, dude. Just because, like I said, he'll get pulled one way, I'll get pulled the other, and we'll always meet back up at some point,
100%. And something was interesting. We always, roughly about a week prior to any investigation, both of us, everybody involved, like me, Al, Cindy, we start getting like prophetic dreams, and just like we know something's going to happen. And I was kind of like having a hard time sleeping. I wasn't talking to Cindy at that time. I didn't know who the psychic of the group was, but Al was. So the reason why he does it is for safety measures. So whoever you were going to bring, she gets to scan them. And if there's an issue, she'll say, no, he can't go, she can't go, because it's dangerous. It's dangerous to everybody. And so, Al, I was like, I talked to Cindy. She said, there's a woman there. She's waiting for us. She's happy that she knows we're coming. Then she said something about blood on a field. A lot of like they killed people, and there was a big battles, several different big battles. And then she mentioned you're going to find there's a doctor there that is really nasty and was experimenting on people. And you're going to find something with an O in it, the letter O, or in the shape of an O, or whatever it was. So we're like, yeah, okay. So he tells me this, and I'm kind of aware of it.
Don't go anywhere, guys. We'll be right back with that deep conversation you crave. But just a quick reminder, if you'd like to snag some gear for this show, Bizarre Encounters, or one of your favorite cryptids or topics, hop on over to the Open Minds Media merch store for a wide range of designs with new drops regularly. And t-shirts now for the low price of just $15.68 plus shipping. And now let's get back into it.
So when we're downstairs in the morgue area, we go into this room, and it's a morgue, and it's got tiles all around. And then there's a back area there, which you can't get out. It's one way in, one way out. The morgue, you go through the morgue, you get into this big room. That's where they keep all, like, if they cut the brains out, they put them in these cases, and, they'll put them in the glass jars, the old ones with formaldehyde, whatever.
Formaldehyde, yeah.
Right. And it's an operating room, basically. So we were.
Yeah, it's actually, she said, we were all in the hallway, and we called her. And she said, you're going to go into the operating room, and you're going to find a board game with the letter O. And we all made a joke at her, but we made her look like an ass. We said, oh, yeah, we're going to find operation, in the operating room. But the operating room wasn't that big. And there was like 8 of us. So when we got in there, we spread out. We looked all over the place. We didn't find shit.
We had an old butcher block table that was there with a really old TV set, like we're talking about 70s, where the glass was punched out of it.
Good old boob tube.
I went into it's old boob tube. I went into the back room, and I'm like, okay, I always want to know where my exits are, just in case. I mean, cops are there. We're kind of trespassing. And I want to know how to get in and out, and if someone can mess around with us. So, long story short, big room, little side room where they washed up at the sinks, and that was it. And we're walking around, and there's some conduits that are down, what have you. And Al mentions the doctor, and we're trying to connect to the doctor, and we're getting nothing really. So we pretend to say, hey, this patient, with one of the guys that's there, this patient needs emergency surgery, doc. He's a troublemaker. And I bet you can't do anything with him. We're kind of egging them on. I don't recommend it. To our friend Paul, Paul's standing there. And while that's taking place, we hear like this boom, like something's moving, wiggling. And we're like, what was that? Like somebody hit something, like a pipe. And everybody's looking around, nothing's there. And one guy goes, look at the conduit. And the conduit's moving. And no one touched it. And
no one was near the conduit. I was the closest to it. It's a metal conduit coming down out of the ceiling with a piece of rope attached to the same pipe right next to it. The conduit is going like this, and the rope's not moving.
It's not moving.
How is that possible?
So I think we have
you had the black light. You had the black light that day.
Yeah, I had a black light that day.
And so Brian goes over with the black light to see if he could find any fingerprints on the conduit. What's up?
I have.
You're gonna pull up the pictures.
I have the pictures. I don't know how you want me to share it.
Yeah, you can screen share. Sure. It should have full access for you. You should be able to bring it up. You just got to click it down on the bottom.
Okay, screen share. Okay, so you know what? Let me open them up. Give me a second here. Let me get to that photo, and then I will. This way, it'll be available, and then I'll add them to my. What do you call it? I forgot what they're called. Where's my downloads? My preview, and then you'll see it, because I also have the electricity one. Just so you know.
Oh, you have the old lady. The picture of the old lady. Oh, wow. Great.
If you guys got those up too, or you have them, if you don't mind sending them to me. So if anybody is only listening on audio, I can include them in the cover art so that everybody can see them too.
Yeah, no. I'll definitely send it. Why is a screenshot in here? What the hell is that? So, yeah, let me get the screenshot. I don't know if you're seeing the full thing, but here we go. So I'm going to present this. This is us in that operating room area.
Is it connecting for you?
I'm doing it right now. I just I'm sharing it. So tell me if it pops up.
Okay. Yep. There you go.
Okay, actually, this is the wrong one. So how do I get out of it? Stop sharing. Hold on. No, I had it.
Like 6 zillion things.
I did. Trust me. Window.
Yeah, this one's a little bit more specific on here. You can click an exact window or you can click a screen.
There it is.
Yeah, you just got to make sure you click the right
There
one.
it
There's
is.
more options.
So this is the image. Can you see it?
Yeah.
Okay.
This is the image. So I'm in the red right here. It's my
No,
red
that's
jacket.
that's
No,
that's
I think
that's
that's
Tom.
you.
No, that's Tom.
Okay. So this is the area. So
That's
Paul
the
is
operating room.
yeah, with the blue around him. You know, the denim jacket and the denim pants. He's at the far side of this. And we took this picture. And you like, oh, whatever, this is in the operating room. Well, when I got the picture back and we looked at it, you were missing a very key component here. I lightened it up. All I did was lighten it up. And now you have this image right here. And look above Paul's head to the left.
Set
Look what's
eyes up there in
floating.
the light.
Looks like something floating up there, like a whole body or something.
It looks like a doctor, doesn't it?
It could be a doctor.
It's a
in his
lab
garb.
coat.
Yeah,
with
yeah. It looks like a
these
lab coat.
goggles
Yeah,
on
yeah.
right there.
In an operating room. Yeah.
Right. So that's when we did that and the conduit hit, which is to the right of the red right there. That's the conduit. No one was by it. This is the different variable right here. The doctor right there. I'm gonna. Oh, there we go. Look at that. I can have a pointer too.
Yeah, I was
Don't
going to
worry,
say, I
there's
was
no
seeing
camera, folks.
the eyes that are up in the ceiling, like the two
Yeah,
glowing
that's
kind of
what I'm
yellowish white
And
eyes.
it looks like he's got a lab coat on, you know?
Yeah,
and he's
it's
floating
glowing.
up in the top of the ceiling. I mean, we didn't see that when we took the photo, but we've seen it later.
Right. So you get the glowing eyes up in front, but there's also another set of eyes just above it.
I don't see any other set of eyes.
I can try to zoom in on it, but we're not going to get much out of that. There are another set of eyes.
Where? Above him? He's already up at the ceiling. Where the hell did where could
It's
there be?
just to the left. This is the problem Al and I have. Hearing wise and sight wise, I'm pretty good about it. But what I'll do is I'm going to share these with you right now into your messenger, and then you can just, do what you wish with them.
Okay. Yeah, for sure.
Yep. So I'm going to take that out so we can, take us through the other stuff, Mr. Santariga.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But Brian goes over to the conduit with the black light, right, to see if there's any fingerprints on it. Everybody gathers around this conduit. We make a circle around it, and we just can't understand how it's moving with this, but the rope right next to it is not moving. We go back to the table to get some equipment because we put our bags on the table with our equipment, and sitting on the table is a Ouija board that starts with the letter O.
He's talking
with a planchette on it. And it wasn't there when we put our bags on the table 10 minutes earlier. Where it came from, I don't know. And if you ever watch the video of that on our YouTube channel, you'll hear me cursing, "Don't touch that effing plantain," or what's it called, planchette. Don't touch the planchette. And one of the guys picks it up and puts it on my shoulder, and I almost punch him in the face. I was like, "Dude, I'll kick your effing ass. Don't ever touch me with that shit."
It was Anthony.
Kind of a weird question, but was it like brand new looking, or did it look like it was old and beat up, or like what was the condition of it?
It was in good condition, but it looked like it was an antique, right?
Yeah, it wasn't old.
So it didn't look like something that is
really antique.
that was like
It
weathered
older
or
than
anything that got left there. It looks like something that just miraculously popped up. Like it didn't look like it was weathered or beat up or anything.
No, it looked like it was made to look old, but it actually looked pretty modern. It looked pretty like brand new, but it had an old style to it, like an early 19th century style to it, But we got pictures of it. But I mean, it was just crazy. It wasn't there when we put we literally put our bags on the table because we didn't want to put them on the floor with our equipment, and it wasn't there. But something took our attention off of that table so that thing could just pop up out of midair. It was just mind-boggling. Just crazy shit, man.
If there was another entrance to the place, I would say maybe someone came in and dropped it. It wasn't.
Absolutely
it was one way in and one way out.
And there was 8 of us there. There's no way someone's sneaking by 8 people unless he's a ghost.
It was those damn kids. They came back just to mess with you guys because you guys scared the shit out of them. They had a Ouija board. They're like, you know what? They scared us out of here. We're just going to leave a Ouija board on a table before we leave.
They were terrified, bro.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought the girl was going to cry, but
I thought she was going to pee herself. I really did.
Yeah. They all like, I'm a comic, so I'll make jokes at funerals, but that was really, they probably will never go to Letchworth Village again. You know, they probably told their friends to try to kill us. I'm like, no, we didn't.
You know those situations where you feel like you're in danger, but nothing happens? This was definitely one of them.
I mean, but they're lucky because, you know, that's a place where Satan worshipers hang out. Sure,
and Brian gave them all surgical masks, and I think if I remember correctly, we saged them all as well because they didn't do anything for protection. You know, not even spiritual protection or physical protection. You know what I mean? So they're breathing that dust and all that other crap that's falling out of the ceiling. So we gave them surgical masks, and we saged them from head to toe. This way, when they did leave, they didn't bring any hitchhikers home with them. You know.
Yeah.
Hey guys, I just want to take a second to announce that I'm doing a free t-shirt giveaway. All you have to do to enter is fill out a quick listener opinion survey located down in the show notes. The winner will be announced once 50 people enter the survey, and the winner will get one free t-shirt of their choosing from the Open Minds Media merch store. Your opinions go a long way to help this show improve, so anyone who enters is definitely a friend of the show in my book, so thank you. Now let's get back to the show. I mean, something I want to bring up with this whole place too. So when you're going to like these abandoned places, one thing that I don't think a lot of people take into consideration, especially when you're talking about protection, is that like you were talking about with like people doing ritual Satan worshipers, even people that don't necessarily understand that stuff and they're just coming there to put sigils on the wall because they saw it in a movie or, you know, they're just trying to do graffiti. They may not necessarily realize what they're doing or the markings that they're making, and they could end up actually enticing something to come just off of thinking that they're just trying to make some funny, scary graffiti on the wall. And one thing that I've kind of debated is, especially locations like this where they kind of have like a history that, you know, you hear about this doctor, it kind of builds up like its own folklore within the community that, you know, you end up playing telephone, the stories kind of get stretched a little bit.
Right.
But if you're making like these emblems on the wall, these sigils, and you're calling things in, even if there isn't necessarily something there at that time, if you're putting all this thought projection into this place, you're almost like creating an archetype for some type of other entity to come in and take the part of. So even if that original entity isn't there, and everybody's just saying like, oh yeah, there's this doctor that's here, then whatever entity decides to come into that place might end up taking the shape of that doctor just because that archetype is already created and that thought projection is already created for them. So just knowing that there's all this weird occult stuff that people typically don't understand going into these places, it's like, it's better to be safe than sorry. I mean, and even with, again, asbestos in these old buildings and stuff, it's like, if you're going to go into these places, you know, you got to be protected on literally all ends because you don't know what you're getting yourself into in the physical and in the spiritual.
No, and on top of it, let me add to that. You know, there's something called abracadabra. Everybody's heard of it, right? Magicians, but it's Aramaic. And abracadabra stands for what I speak, I create. That's not a joke. And no one realizes that. If you start talking negative stuff will happen. If you start speaking positively all the time, good things and positive things will happen. So the fact that you're taking that energy of something, joking around that's evil, that kills blah, 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 kids or whatever, and you throw that into the ether, there probably is some entities it's going to trigger, and they're like, oh, I see something funky over there. I'm going to go take a look. And then the next thing you know, you could have, like you said, something taking the form of a doctor, or you could have something that's even worse than that coming in. Because I'll tell you something. Prior to this, when we met before going into the village, we met a little bit earlier down on the property because some of us we want everybody to catch up. One of the guys there who I believe he was in the Air Force, he goes, there's a underground Air Force base over here, and it's supposed to have bunkers in it. And it's filled with all this stuff. So we started, he's like, we should really investigate that. So we were thinking like, yeah, that'd be pretty damn cool. And what was it? I think it was the next day after we were done with this, our psychic called us back and goes, what the hell are you guys up to? And Al got the call, not me. He goes, what are you talking about? Where are you going to investigate? And he says, what are you talking about? Some underground thing. And he goes, oh, there was talk about an underground base, a military base. He says, don't you dare go down there. She got visited by basically a Wendigo. Literally a Wendigo in her house in Arkansas, in a wasn't a dream state. It was almost, when you're psychic, you don't really sleep. It's not dreams. You actually are reconnecting to source. This thing tracked her down at her damn house, went right to her face. She said she scared the shit out of her. She got up at 3:00 in the morning and literally went outside her property and salted the entire property. And she had a cut mark to prove that it was real. So think about that.
And I mean, at least you guys have heard my experience that I had with a creature that I believe was a Wendigo, but at least from all of my research, diving into all the folklore with these things, they would say that from the first snowfall to the last snowfall, you weren't safe. But the rest of the time during the summer, these things would go underground. They'd go in caves. They try to find these cold places so that they basically wouldn't decompose in a hot sun. So, if you're going by the folklore, and at least from my experiences, that the one that I had, I saw this thing coming out of an underground tunnel, basically. So kind of the same idea. It fits the archetype and the folklore of it, that it would completely make sense that if there was an opportunity for there to be some type of underground dwelling, of course these things are going to take that opportunity.
Right. And if they're doing it in between and they don't want to have any problems with their physique or whatever it is, and they think people are going to come down and bother them, what are you going to do? You're going to tell them, don't come down here.
See, and I kind of had the same thing with my experience too, that it seems like there's this internal fight with these things, because if you, again, dive into it, it's you have the consciousness of the person, but then there's this also other evil entity that's attached to it. So with my experience, I had this thing tell me to run, this disembodied voice in my right ear before I actually saw this thing. So there is this disconnect where, they don't want to do these things. It's just that this other thing that's attached to them takes control over them, and then they're blinded by it. Because, I mean, even going into some of the old stories, people have talked about being bluff charged by a Wendigo, and they'll figure out what that thing's name was before it got turned, and it'll stop in its tracks. Its sense of humility comes back temporarily for a second. These things don't want to do this stuff, but they're forced to do it because of the other thing that's attached to them.
Good, very good theory.
Yeah, well, so our psychic, she would call me before all of our investigations, before we would even tell her we were going anywhere. And she would say, okay, where are you going? I'm getting premonitions of this, that, and the other thing. She called me to tell me about the old lady who was waiting for us. Now, I took a bunch of photographs down one corridor. I didn't see anything. But again, like Brian says, take them in threes, right? And one picture is a blue mist. Then it turns into this plasma ball kind of thing. Then it turns into this electric energy kind of thing that looks like an old lady with buns in her hair. And this is the old lady who was waiting for us. Now, with the Wendigo thing, she called me up and she says, where are you going? I had something come see me. I don't know what the hell it was. Scared the living crap out of me. And we had just finished discussing what Brian was saying was there were these empty ammunition depots in Rockland County that were built into the mountain. And there was a whole bunch of them in a row. And they were all connected, but they were empty. There wasn't any more ammunition in there. The ammunition was being stored there during World War II for the East Coast, in case the Germans came up the East Coast or something. And she said that this thing goes from one ammunition depot to the other, and it goes back and forth through all of them. And when we started discussing it, it hurt us. And for some reason, she says, I'm a conduit. She reads everything through me. Yeah, that's the plasma thing. And then there's a picture of when you blow it up, it looks like an old lady with buns in her hair.
That's the old lady.
That's the old lady. You can see her shoulders.
In the center right here, there's a shadow person in the back. Right behind the old lady, really tall, and then there are a couple other individuals that are there. But if you look at, this is pixelated, and I apologize to people that it is a pixelation, but it's the best you can do with what you got to work with. I will send these to you as well, Shayn. So
this was in the hospital, correct?
Yeah, this was in the corridor in the hospital. Yeah,
Al's walking down the corridor, and as he's walking, click.
And what you can't see in this picture, because it's like a black and white picture, there's a blue mist underneath her. And it starts out as a blue mist, and then it turns into this plasma. Then it turns into this image. It looks like an old lady with a big chin and a big nose. And you can see her shoulders and her buns on the side of her head. And just crazy, crazy, crazy stuff. But
someone's sitting right there, but that may be it. It was insane.
Is this stuff that you guys caught in just pictures, or did you guys also see this like blue orb at the end of this hallway, like with your eyes too?
No, did not see it at the time. No, it was something when we went through our evidence review, and when we had it up on the big screen TV, that's when we seen it. Yeah.
That first blue one almost looks like a blue burst of like electricity or like energy. Like that's not just like some type of weird flare or dust on like a lens. Like it literally has like this ominous like electric look to it.
Yeah, it has an electric blue look to it. Yes, like
I will tell. We'll bring it up again, but I will tell you that not in defending, Al. I'll tell you that this blue was. This was
bigger,
the best.
Brian. Make it bigger. Can you enlarge it?
Make it bigger.
Look at that thing.
Yeah, it's got like electric like flares coming off of it. Like there's no way that was something done by an error of the lens.
No. It had nothing. And I believe you were using film, weren't you? Were you using film that time?
No, I was using my Sony digital. Yeah.
And something about the Sony that's great is even in low light, they're one of the best cameras to have in low light. And this was just out of this world.
Yeah, it was crazy. Yeah, I don't think I had the flash on.
No, you didn't.
I mean, that's the middle of the hallway anyways. Like, unless there was like a piece of glass like floating midway up, like there should be no reason why anything like that was reflecting regardless,
Like I said, we take pictures in threes. I used to be a photographer in a different time, different life. So I know to take pictures in three. So I took pictures in three. And the first one, there's this blue mist. Then there's this electric plasma thing. And then in the third one is the old lady. And then I think in the fourth one, everything is gone. You know what I mean? It's just absolutely nuts. But I mean,
you have to understand that we're not sitting there taking pictures and then looking what we got. Because we were moving from point A to point B.
We had the place is humongous, and we didn't just investigate the hospital. We investigated like the administration building and the dormitories. We were all over the place, As a matter of fact, and the yard. And what I was getting at before is the ammunition depots is actually built in a town called Ramapo, where the Ramapo Indians used to be, and the mountain that they dug the ammunition depots into used to be sacred land for the Ramapo Indians. So I think that's what brought that Wendigo in, because the Americans took that land from the Native Americans, and then they butchered those mountains to put those ammunition depots in there, and all that negative. And I think the Native Americans put a curse on that land, and this thing just came there,
It was really interesting because we went out to this like courtyard place at one point, and Cindy mentioned something about you're gonna see spirits. You see a lot of dead and blood all over the place, and we didn't see anything. There wasn't anything really, we were waiting for another missed episode, like to kind of start up again, because we did see it with the other photos. We were like, wow, that was cool. But we were on like, everything was walk, take pictures. We didn't have time to stop. And you see on TV, let's go review it now. We didn't have the review factor. We were going to do it after the fact, because you're on a piece of property. The police don't want you there. They will arrest you. You're getting trespassed. It's a big problem if you do. They'll impound your car. I mean, like, there's so many different variables. But something we did smart was they hired a security person that goes around. So we mentioned it to him, and the guy knows we're not the young kids starting shit. He was like, yeah, no problem. Just don't go in the buildings. Don't
wink, wink. I can't tell you to go in the buildings. I'm telling you to not go in the buildings. Wink, wink.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Now the security guards were actually awesome.
They were good
because they were the ones who told us. They went about the cemetery, the graveyard, and they were like, they were patrolling down at the cemetery one night, and pillars of light came out of the ground. They got back in their car and hauled ass out of there. They said, now we don't patrol down there anymore. So of course, Ryan and I said, well, we got to go down to the cemetery next, know. But that was a great investigation. There was a lot of evidence. We even went into the temple. Remember the Jewish temple? Yeah,
it was a cool place. And what was very interesting about that place is, again, Al's doing his thing. I'm doing my thing away from Al. We're doing it. I got a lot of EVPs. He's got a lot of EVPs of people. Hello. Like they were slow. I'm not kidding. I'm mimicking. Well, I'm not making fun of. I'm mimicking what, and what
was there also lobotomies done by that doctor? I mean, there also could be lobotomies, because that's obviously extremely traumatic.
There was a ton of lobotomies done in that location, yeah.
And I believe it was
TB, tuberculosis.
Tuberculosis was tested there. And what they would do is if they had a pending, like I'm not going to use the term because I don't want to get you flagged, but if they had a pending thing that they would give you.
A stabby stab.
A stabby stab, whatever it is. Yeah, that's like stabby stab. They tested it on everybody. And what you got to understand, you got to wrap your mind about this. This has been in 100 years. Easy. Like the early, 1920s, or I forgot when it was built. Anybody, like, you had a bastard child, they put the baby there. You had a deformed child, it went there. If you had mentally handicapped or something that was an embarrassment to you and your society, it all went there. Grandma and grandpa with, losing their minds, they go there. And what these people did, or the doctors did, they tested these stabby stabs on everybody from baby age, like literally a month old, to like 90 years old. And the candidate for use was anybody that survived it. So if you survived it and didn't, die from it, okay, this is a potential candidate we can give out. And then they would test it again and again. Just think about that concept. So when we tell you 28,000 square acres, it's a big piece of property. And every aspect of it, in my opinion, I think Al's opinion is, it's all haunted.
Oh, yeah. Even the land is haunted. Absolutely. Even the people,
you got some,
we interviewed people playing golf. There's a golf course that runs alongside of it, and even the people who play golf, so they see apparitions in the windows looking out at them at times.
Yeah,
you know. There's a lot of stone buildings on this property, big buildings.
Beautiful.
I mean,
it's beautiful.
Oh my God,
stone foundation buildings, and like you have a row of it. And like and then there were stairs going down to like little dormitories and stuff, because there were people there that had whatever their illness, they were just there. They were the civil people, and then there were the mentally or criminally insane type of people. But here's the weird part. They have a lot of property there, and they're trying to figure out what to do with it. And someone floated the idea of building Legoland there, or whatever it is.
Yeah, they were going to build Legoland on a haunted property. That would have been great for little kids.
Daddy, that Lego piece is floating.
Hold that thought. We'll be back in a flash. But if you don't like hearing the ads, then I have a solution for you. You can get ad-free and early access to this show and Bizarre Encounters with Shayn and Orin on the Open Minds Media Patreon for just $1 a month. That's less than the price of a bag of chips, and it's a great way to support the show and all the hard work behind it. And if you're interested in merch store discounts or premium video versions of the show, then there are a few other tiers with additional benefits and 7-day free trials available. Now let's get back into it. Dude, the place that I used to go and explore, the abandoned mental institution, that I had the Wendigo experience at, they tore that place down and they turned it into a public park with like playgrounds. So I kind of got the same thing going with the place that I used to go to. That it's like this traumatic area that they're just like, family area now, have fun.
No. But I guarantee you, if you go there and you just watch full spectrum cameras, you'll get apparitions that appear.
Oh, 100%. I guarantee, yeah. In the middle of like the playground, you'll probably see stuff moving across the field now at this point, because there's so much stuff going on there in any of these mental institution places.
I'm going to go play with the guy with the robe. What do you mean the guy with the robe? That old man.
Yeah, and there were times where when we were walking down the road, the group of us, and people would turn around and just take pictures of the buildings. There, they would see people. Like there was a couple of guys on our team that actually seen people looking out the windows at us, and then they'd snap the picture and there would be nothing there. You know, it just weren't quick enough. But we had just walked past that building, and then all of a sudden somebody's peeking out the window. We were just in that building 10 minutes ago. There was nobody in that building, you know, that was looking out the window at us. But it was one of those like a place where the staff would sleep, you know what I mean? Like a dormitory for the staff. So it could have been a nurse or somebody on staff peeking out to see what, like I said, it's called Letchworth Village because they built the whole damn village on this property, not just the hospital.
It was a city. Yeah.
Something weird to think about. As far as these places that have done like lobotomies in the past, I'm sure you guys have seen the videos after somebody's had a lobotomy that they seem like they're only like half conscious or like halfway there at that point. It seems like all of these locations that lobotomies have been done at are all these like very fixed locations for phenomenon happening. And I kind of wonder if they coincide with each other with the lobotomy, that when somebody receives that, it's almost like their consciousness becomes split at that point where like part of it's been removed and then the other half is still kind of residing in the body. So it kind of makes you wonder if it might cause this like residual phenomenon, because it's almost like half of the consciousness is being removed while the physical vessel is still remaining. So like the other half of the consciousness kind of like stays around and becomes this like fixed point around like the physical aspect of it. But I wonder if there's like a tie to that it's the lobotomy specifically and like the half removal of consciousness that causes this fluctuation of phenomenon on top of, again, just mental patients and abuse on top of that.
Yeah, there's a lot of mental staining going on in those places, and I think all of those things do leave a mental stain, like the lobotomy, the consciousness, and the abuse, and all of that stuff leaves some kind of stain on the what I call it, on the walls and on the grounds, the stone tape theory kind of stuff. You know what I mean? So I believe that. Yeah, I believe that's true. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, like you always have these stories about ghosts that, you know, someone stole something from the ghost and they come back to try to get it. And that's why they're haunting. If you steal a piece of somebody and try to bring it back, and you die elsewhere, you're going to want that piece of you back. There are certain religions, and a lot of religions, even Christianity, when you die, you're not supposed to touch their head. There's something about the head. You don't go anywhere near it for the long haul, but within the first 7 days, and you have to bury somebody within 7 days. Now, I've been to a couple of Irish wakes, and they've gone for months. Those guys don't joke around. Take Frankie in or wind it back up. Because they're just drinking. Unbelievable what's going on. But in one religion, you don't touch the head. Your head, it's when your soul exits your body, it goes up. It goes through that. And if you've taken a piece of it, then you kind of get stuck there.
There's a lot of like ancient oral traditions. Actually, I had somebody on that was diving into like the whole idea of like the occult with the whole talking heads concept, and diving into, at least from when he was talking about with like the ancient Greeks and everything, they would say that, say you had like this other person that you had some type of big conflict with, you would theoretically decapitate them and you would keep their head, because by keeping their head, it would make it so that they wouldn't be able to pass on to the afterlife. Yep. So that's where the whole oracle thing came into play, was basically they believed that the soul was still trapped inside of the head. And in turn, that's what you'd be able to talk to in order to get the premonition. So it's like anybody that you had it out for, you would decapitate them and keep their head, because then you would basically be able to take their consciousness and say, this is what you're going to do for me. Give me the answers to these questions, and basically make them do your bidding in the afterlife by obtaining their head.
A lot of indigenous people took scalps because they felt the warrior's energy and prowess came from the area of the root of the hair. So they would cut it off and wear them, especially if they've bested somebody that was a lot better than them. So, there's a lot to this, but you ask 10 people, you'll get 15 answers in the paranormal.
Yeah. Well, that's why the Native Americans would take like bear claws or mountain lion teeth or something like that, because it would keep the spirit of that animal with you. Yeah.
Yep. Oh, great spirit.
And going back into the native stuff you were mentioning too, clearly there's something going on with this land, because you were talking about the that orb in particular, and it's giving off this like blue aura color to it. And I'm sure you guys diving into the whole like quantum Sasquatch aspect of things, usually this like quantum aspect of things is usually related to there being like blue orbs. So clearly like there's something to this land in the aspect of, one, there's something I'm sure that goes back with the natives. There's a reason why it was a sacred land to them. Like there's some type of like a thinning veil or some type of like energy output that's happening that's causing these things to be able to like show themselves. Because even on the flip side, I kind of wonder if it's like the area itself that something happened there, and in turn these things are able to show themselves because of that. Or on the flip side of it, if there's just so much energy in an area that stuff gravitates to it because they can use that energy in order to manifest themselves. So it's not that the energy itself or the land itself is inherently evil. It's just that it's a giant battery almost. And of course, anything that needs that is going to come over and use it. And it doesn't make the land bad. That's why, again, to like some of the natives, these lands were sacred
land.
It's just how it's being used by whatever happens to be occupying it at the time.
Absolutely. I agree 100%.
We're pretty good about, our education and knowledge of a lot of where we are in New York State and a lot of, Connecticut, and Al's been to Florida, so he knows certain parts of Florida very, very well. And we were like on this field, and we kind of had a vibe about the field. And he said, well, Cindy said there was a lot of death here. She sees a lot of death in the field, because he was talking to her. I didn't get to talk to her. I wasn't yet connected to Cindy at that point. So when, the whole trip was over, I did research in the area, and there were several Indian wars that took place right where we were, and not too far away from that property is a marker about a French, a Revolutionary War. She says, I see something revolutionary. I see something primitive. I see something like civil and whatever. There was a variety of different wars that they happen to take place in that field. And maybe there's, like you were saying before, maybe there's some kind of force or energy there where that's where the only place you can do a battle, because that's what the energy is for that area. Why is it? It's always the same thing.
Yeah, that's why those fields were soaked in blood. She said the fields were soaked in blood. Absolutely. Yeah. That was crazy stuff. Yeah. That was a good investigation. Yeah. We almost had the whole team with us that time. We never get the whole team. No, never get the whole team.
What was great is after it was over, we all met back at a diner, because that's what we usually do. It was like, let's regroup, let's do a debrief. And so there's like 10 of us over in the area there. And what happens is we go there, and then Al reveals, he does the big reveal, like Maury Povich, like, Brian, you are the father. So he explains, we have a psychic for the group. There's a psychic for a group. Her name's Cindy, whatever. And before all of you can come, she had to go read every one of you. So I was like, okay, whatever. Just get me my eggs, get me my pizza burger deluxe, whatever it is. And then she goes around and goes, you guys are all right. And she goes, well, when she got to you, Paul, she got a tingle. And Paul was like, okay, like he was Mr. whatever. And she goes, when usually gets like a tingle or whatever, she says, then you have capability.
Yeah.
You're sensitive. You can, you have the ability to be more sensitive or whatever it is. And then without missing a beat, then she goes, then she got to you. And he pointed to me, and she almost fell off her chair. And she said, you got a lot of abilities, but you keep walls up. And my response was, damn straight I do. I live in New York City. I put a club on it as well, whatever. But after that, I asked him, I said, hey, go ask Cindy if it's all right if I contact her, because I'd like to explore this a little bit, but I don't want to open a Pandora's box.
Yeah, Brian wanted to learn, but he didn't want to. And she's like, you can't do one without doing the other, Brian. So make your choice. You know what I mean?
I didn't want a Pandora's box. I always had this idea, but let's see what she has to say. And she's like, Arkansas. Yeah, whatever. And it's a fucking Pandora's box, dude. Once you open that shit.
Once you open that box, yeah, that's it. The gates. It's
never been the same, but
floodgates are open.
I'm like, you meet certain people in this world. I never met Cindy physically, nor has Al, but we are just like brother and sister, really big time. Yeah.
When Brian's father passed, Brian's father went to Cindy.
That's because she's hot, dude.
Cindy called Brian and told him that his father came to her. I mean,
yeah,
he doesn't know Cindy from a hole in the wall.
Cindy. I just told her today because we were talking about that, whatever. Like, and I'm talking about different things. Cindy is literally stunning. I mean, she's a beautiful looking woman. Okay. And I already know what she looked like when she's, was younger, and you would have turned your head in a split second and watched that walk wherever, because she has a daughter and she's gorgeous too. So the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, nor the kids, her grandkids from her daughter, which actually I may be going to see Cindy, by the way, in September, because I'm maybe close. And I told her, I said, I want, what? I told her, if I walk into that house and your grandbaby's there, and she goes, Bryan Bowden, and because she remembered me, I'll just go, I'll bug out. And I'll tell you that in a split second. But, we got really, really close. It is a Pandora's box. She used to say, you're psychic like me. And I said, no, I'm a remote viewer. And after a while, I'm like, yeah, I'm fucking psychic like you. I'm like, the stuff you're doing. It's the weirdest thing when you gotta go into it and this is what you do type of thing. Right. So, but I don't ask Cindy for any, unless I can't read into it or see it. That's when I will go to a third party psychic to kind of get read. And so I never asked her for anything. So my dad died, and I'm on my way to the burial, and she's like, "Your dad's here with me right now," and he's talking up a storm. And she starts telling me all these things, and I'm trying to drive to this cemetery, like in Queens, New York. It's a bitch to get to, one of the largest cemeteries in the world.
Yeah,
and I'm like,
huge.
I mean, it's huge, and she's hitting nails on heads that are just crazy. I said, listen, I just got to the burial. I'll, can I? Yep. So, I said, give me a half an hour. Give me an hour. Call me back. So she gives me an hour, calling me back, and she starts tells me, my dad's, I'm not going to go into full details, but he is apologizing to me. He should have been there, all these different things. And Cindy he's going to be there with you. He needs to be with you for a bit because you're going to go through a lot of stuff. She goes, I've never experienced this before. Usually they leave, they go as soon as they pass over, but he's hanging out because my dad was pissed off. He screwed me over. He should have been there when I was getting, with his wife, my birth mother, and he knows it was wrong, but whatever. So she's going like, well, damn it, man. Am I right? I'm like, yeah, you're spot on, because I'm trying to comprehend the deaths of my father, burying my father. Because it's one thing when someone dies and they're in front of you, whatever. But when you take that shovel, you dig in the ground, and then you hit the rocks, hit that box. That's when it really smacks you right in the face. So she says, I don't know why he's coming to me. I said, because you're hot. My dad's a freaking dog, dude. He loved attractive women, but he was smart about it. He knew who had connection to me and who he can go to. So like Al has, I'll listen to Al. Al will call me. I'll call him. We call each other all the time. It's like an old married couple. But if you looked at Cindy versus Al, no offense, Al's a good-looking guy. My dad's like, I'm going with her. Okay. And she told me at that point, she said, he goes, he's angry because he's going to come to you when you're sleeping, but you motherfucker don't sleep. And I don't.
No, Brian's a vampire.
Second wind, I'm up. I get senses. You get into the meditation or whatever it is. So he said he'll sit at the edge of your bed, and my hand to God, Shayn, I'm lying in bed. I finally go to sleep, and I said, well, Dad, if you're here, I'm sure you'll let me know. And that bed in the front went down. If you've ever had a pet or a dog, and it jumps in the bed. And even the biggest dog in the world gets in that bed very easy. It's just like it appears, and you feel the weight of the bed going down, like someone's sitting on it. That's exactly what happened. So I also found out he's now my guardian angel, and I am so fucked because of it.
Just out of curiosity, did your dad believe in the paranormal or anything, or was he one of those people that really didn't believe in any of it until the situation kind of fell in his lap?
Thought I was crazy about it, and like you're nuts. And then I started, because it's not only paranormal. I would say I'd get a number like ABC, right? And he's like, ABC, right? So that would be a 1, 2, and a 3. It'd be a 6. I said, that's 6. He goes, how the hell are you getting that number? You get 247, right? So that's 247. And I'd say, no, it's 13. He's like, where the hell are you getting 13? It's actually 4. And he goes, how do you get in 4? Because everything, this is something I've always had, and I've deduced over my lifetime. You can only go up to 1 to 9. Those are the digits, 1 to 9. So like if you added numbers, like I'm looking at the clock, right? It's 123. So that's not 123. That's a 6, because 1 plus 2 is 3 and 3 plus 3 is 6. Do you understand it? Mm-hmm. So like if you're 21 years old, you can say, no, I'm only 3, because 2 plus 1 is 3. This goes back. This is so ancient. I don't know where this crap started with me, but eventually he started catch on. He'd You go 4, right? You know, like my dad looked like a combination of Pavarotti and Lou Albano.
Yes.
I'm not kidding.
Yeah, yeah.
And then, of course, when we're coming through the northern border of Canada into Calais, Maine, and he has his Hawaiian shirt on, his shirt open, wrap around black sunglasses, hair everywhere. He looks like Abdullah the Mullah. And I'm like, you're so getting cavity searched today.
Hunter S. Thompson riding across the border. All he's missing the bucket hat.
Yep. So he didn't get it, and initially he thought he was crazy, but then he started getting it, and then he started doing it, and then he understood it. These are certain bases in the universe. All it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Repeat 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Doesn't matter how big the number is. You can quantify it 1 to 9. You know, and that's what. And he did it. And you know, this is shit. I used to talk to. I talked to Al about. And then Al would have Al had a couple of ascension moments, which was like same. Sergeant Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club. Like, look at the rainbows and the pretty people. I'm flying, and I'm like, he's telling me this stuff. And I'm like, oh, God.
Yeah, I didn't know. I know.
In the sauce,
I was like, when I had my ascensions, I didn't call it an ascension because I'm not a higher consciousness kind of guy at the time. I'm just, I wasn't actually, neither one of us were when we first met. We've come a long way. Yes. We've changed our opinion on a lot of things.
Hold on tight, guys. We'll be right back after this brief commercial break. And now back to the show.
I had this I called it a outer body experience. And then everybody I knew who was a higher consciousness kind of person said, no, you had an ascension, and they told me now that you've had this ascension. I was sleeping one night. And
you got to tell the full story. You got to tell the full story.
I was sleeping one night.
Out of control.
And all of a sudden, I felt me leave my body. And I felt like there was someone behind me. And they were guiding me up to the heavens, okay? And we're flying above this rainbow-colored bridge. Colors that were so pure and so true. You've never seen colors like this before. They were just, the colors felt like they were alive, okay?
By the way, I just got touched on the top of my head, but that's...
you have orbs flying around you all night anyway. And so as I'm being pulled
now you tell me. Now you fucking tell me.
That's 3. I've seen 3 so far. I've seen 3 so far. As I'm being pulled up to the heavens, I'm seeing mathematical equations. I'm seeing all kinds of stuff. I'm seeing Bach and Beethoven and music notes and Einstein and Tesla. And I'm seeing all this stuff. And I have no clue why I'm seeing all of this stuff. And who's ever guiding me, I can't see who it is. But I can hear them and I can feel them guiding me. And we get to the outer limits of the universe. And they said, okay, now that you've seen all of this stuff, all of these geniuses, 20th century geniuses and, 14th century geniuses, I'm going to tell you the secret. You're going to learn the secrets of the universe tonight. So I'm like, okay. So we start to descend. And as we descend, I see we're like coming down this rainbow bridge, and I start to see my house. And I'm like, okay, tell me what the secrets are, right? I want to know what the secrets are, because I feel like I'm going to wake up and I'm not going to know the secrets. And the voice told me consciousness, vibration, and frequency, they said. So I always like to throw in intention. Your intention is big, okay? And that's just me. I'm throwing that in. And as I'm getting ready to go back into my body, I say to my guide, man, that was the weirdest dream I ever had in my life. And he stops me from going back to my body. And he says, it's not a dream. And when the snow melts, you'll see the sign. Check the yard. I got 16 inches of snow in my yard. It was February. When the snow melts, I don't know what I'm looking for. I checked my immediate backyard, I found nothing. I went behind, we have a stone wall that divides the property. I went behind the stone wall, and there behind the stone wall were quartz crystal stones the size of bowling balls set up around a tree. Okay. I don't know where these stones came from. There is no quartz crystal that I know of in the mountain behind my house that used to be an apple orchard. I've never seen any quartz stones up there. As I'm looking at these quartz stones, I said, obviously this is the sign that I was going to see when the snow melts. Because it wasn't here when the snow started. These stones weren't here. Because I cut all the grass. And the little voice says, touch the stone. And I touch the stone, and the stone is vibrating. And then the voice says, touch the tree. And I touch the tree, and the tree is vibrating. And I feel this energy going through my body into the tree. So I call a friend of ours up who's a higher consciousness guy. And I said, what does this mean? I don't know what this means. And he says, it's a meditation circle. He says, whenever you have a question for the universe, sit on that stone with your feet on the dirt. Ground yourself in the dirt, Mother Earth, and lean up against that tree and focus on the universe and ask any question you want, and the universe will answer you. And I was like, whoa, it just blew my mind. You know what I mean? And then I went to an investigation, and the psychic, as soon as I walked through the door, the psychic said, oh my God, Al, what happened to you? And I looked at her and I said, I shaved my head. She goes, I'm not talking about you shaving your head. I go, what the hell are you talking about? She goes, you have an aura around you that is so bright, that's glowing so bright. She goes, welcome to my world. And I was like, no, I'm not in your league. I don't want to be in your league. And and she says, no, you're in my league now. And ever since then, Cindy said, I'm a light worker, something to that effect. And, I don't claim to have any psychic abilities, and yet I go through all of them but it's not, I can't do it like Brian can do it. I'll go to an investigation and I'll hear the voice say, touch the wall. And then I'll touch the wall, and then the voice will say, touch this door. And then I'll get an image in my mind's eye, like a movie image of what I'm seeing. And I did that at a historic location, and I seen the Underground Railroad, like smuggling slaves up to Canada. And I went upstairs. I was with John Zaffis that night and a bunch of other people. And I went upstairs and I was talking to the psychic who was on the location. And she said she had the same thing when she went down in the basement. She touched the stone wall because the foundation was stone, and the door was like 6 inches thick, wooden door. And then she said she had the same image. So then we asked the historian who was with us, and the historian said, yeah, how did you know that this place was used for the Underground Railroad? He said, I didn't. I just got this image in my mind. So that's how I get my psychic abilities. They come to me. I just can't go out and do them. Sometimes it's a taste. Sometimes it's a smell. Usually it's a touch. Or a voice, hearing a voice in my head and seeing something in my mind's eye, like a movie image going on in my mind's eye. But all of this happens. I mean, it was always sensitive, always had gut feelings, but all of this crazy stuff happened after I had my ascension. So It's just been a wild ride,
And everything he's talking about, the touch, the taste, the sense, the smell. It'll be on the Al Santariga 1 ounce medicinal marijuana Kush available now at local dispensaries, and it just works that way. Like when I started working with Cindy, what happens is you go through something, and it's always a turmoil thing. It's very much like Edgar Casey. He almost died, or he was a bastard. He goes through something, and all of a sudden now he has abilities. That's the way God says, well, you're an asshole, and I'm going to fuck you right now. And now I'm going to make you do stuff. So they give people some abilities, and then they're like, oh God, they start seeing things and stuff. I don't like seeing what I know and seeing things I don't want to see. It's a lot to deal with. A hell of a lot.
I can't even imagine these little kids, like Cindy's granddaughter at like 3 years old, the shit she was seeing under the bed and in the mirror and stuff like that just terrified this kid, because she's got Cindy's 5th generation. Her daughter's in denial, but the grandkid's not. The grandkid is wide open. She sees shit, and she'll run to her grandmother. She'll go, Granny, I seen this, or there's this in my room, or there's that in my room. And then Cindy and her will go in and find it and cleanse it or whatever, get it out. If it's something dark or negative, or if it's something good, she'll explain it to the kid that this is, a family member from 100 years ago or something, Yeah,
I think she's
crazy
in like
stuff. Yeah,
grade, 6th or 7th grade. I forgot the first grandchild, but what I used to do with it, I used to offer healing for people, and Cindy was having an issue with breathing and whatever. And I said, you always have to ask. I won't just go in and do something unless you're my daughters. Then you're screwed, because I will go in and I read everybody, and I have the ability to read everybody at will. I mean, I can walk into a place and go, that guy's dying of cancer. I've done it. None of my business. It's not my business. I don't want to get involved in it. But sometimes even though I turn a blind eye to it, a higher power will say, no, you need to pay attention to this, because you're going to be the one that's helping this. And I'm like, I really don't want to do this stuff. So when she was sick, I said, okay, I'll go there. Never saw Cindy in person or face where she lives. Nothing about her. So I'm sitting in my kitchen in the Bronx.
Just had another orb go behind you.
Really?
Yeah.
They know you're talking about them. That's why you're starting to stir them up, man.
maybe they can clean my fucking room. So I'm sitting there, and I kind of get into like this, because I'm tired, and I'm getting into this like more of a meditative thing. And I'm not like, oming it or whatever. It's easier. And I'm focused on her and healing her. And I literally see myself traveling across the country, and I'm going to Arkansas, and I go down, and I'm at some house, and I appear, and I come into the home through like what seems like a window, not like a doorway. And when I come in through the window, and I'm standing, and I've got both feet in, and I'm standing in her granddaughter's crib. And I'm like, oh crap. And she sits up and looks at me with who the fuck are you look? And I'm like, hi, I'm Brian. I'm here to help your Nana. She wasn't feeling well. Okay, can you tell her Brian was here tomorrow? And she's just staring at me like trying to figure it out. And she's kind of like, she doesn't say yes or no. So just tell her Brian was here tomorrow. When you wake up, please tell her. So I get out and I go and I look around her house, and I discover that there's a room, a wall, and a room. And in that wall in the room, there's mold building, and it's around the beadboard, and it's going to the outside because there's a leak. And the leak comes from underneath the floorboards in the basement and comes up, and it's eating away. And she's getting a mold issue there. She can't breathe well in there. Neither can the baby. Then I go and I do a scan of her, and I just scan Cindy in bed, and I notice something over here, and I'm like, okay, cool. I know what's going on. I try to put a white golden light around her and heal her. And then the next day she calls, she goes, you were here, weren't you? I said, maybe. How would you know? Because my grandbaby said Brian was here. So she did say it, but I said, she goes, what's going on? I said, well, you have a mold issue in between the two rooms. That's in the, oh no, they thought they had one, but they didn't. I'm like, peel the board off, the border at the bottom. It's a ton of mold. You have to replace the whole thing. And I said, what's going on over here, with your neck? And she's like, what are you talking about? And I told her, I said, you have a problem with your thyroid, bad problem with it. And Cindy's not one that's shy. And she got real quiet. She goes, you saw that? I said, yeah. She goes, I didn't tell anybody. I have a thyroid issue. I said, well, that's part of the reason why you're lethargic and you're not feeling well, but you can get it taken care of. And then I did, before I've ever been to Al's house, his wife was suffering from an issue with night terrors. So I said, can I come in and try to figure it out? He's like, yeah, sure. And I go in and I see the area where it's coming from. I don't see the being or whatever it is. So I tell him, I said, it's in this area by your room. If you look in the room, there's a little alcove. And he's like, he's not understanding what I'm saying. So I draw it on the phone with my finger, the area. I said, this area right here. And I texted to him. He goes, dude, you just drew my entire bedroom backwards, like as if you're looking through a mirror. I said, well, that's the area right over there. That's the problem. So then he saged the area like he did, and night terrors go away.
Weird side question that made me think of that. When you see this other side, is everything mirrored? Just out of curiosity.
No, it was just, I don't know why it would be mirrored, but I just drew it the way I kind of like see it in my mind's eye. The way it works is I'm physically in wherever I am, but somehow my consciousness goes there and I can see it, smell it, touch it, taste it. I mean, explore. I can ask questions. Now I ask questions when I do, like, I need more information, and then they'll give me more information or they'll point me in a different direction. Al had me, I think his daughter they were looking at property. So unbeknownst to me, he goes, here, check out this address for me. So I said, okay, cool. And I did my remote view thing and I got there. And I found out a long time ago, if there's a problem someplace, they take me directly to where the problem is. Because I'd get someplace, I'd be like, oh, I'm seeing this picture. I'm like, no, I want to find out where the problem is. And I'd walk around and I'd be frustrated and I'd say, okay, let me reset. And I'd take myself out of the situation, go, let me go back in. Boom. They give me to the same I'm like the same place every time. I know that's where the area is. So I told him about it. But what Al didn't tell me is he had Cindy do it too. And we kind of corroborated each other. And I will tell you that
there was a lot going on with that house. Yeah, absolutely.
There was a ton of shit going on. Like, going on with that house.
Yeah,
but I would have these weird experiences, and not having somebody to, like, what should I do? I would tell him, I'm like, dude, this is what, boom, 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 this is what happening. Do you think I should tell him? Because it comes off a bit crazy when you hear something, right? You'd be like, oh,
tell the story about the waitress at the diner, at the restaurant.
Hold that thought. Inquiries of Our Reality will be right back after this brief commercial break. And now let's dive back in.
So 2 years ago, my kids.
This is what he means. Like when he feels like he has the need to tell somebody, but he doesn't. I
don't want this information.
He's a stranger. He doesn't want people to think he's nuts. But
yeah,
he just has to. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Another thing happened. I'll tell you about that tomorrow probably. But I have two daughters. They're going to school. They start school August 10th or something like that down here, which is insane. If I went to school in August, I'd probably kill myself. I'm a New York City guy. Like, if it doesn't start after Labor Day weekend, I don't want to know about it,
That's how Michigan is too.
We go in a place. I forgot the name of the place. It's like Shenanigans or whatever. So you're whatever bar.
What's the name of that bar that you like, Farva, that has all the weird stuff on the wall? Shenanigans?
Shenanigans? I just did that the other day. Like, if I hear the word shenanigans one more time, I'm going to pistol whip somebody. Farva, what's the name of that favorite restaurant? You mean Shenanigans?
It just pops in.
So we go in, and the way it is, it's in a shopping mall. It's not like a standalone, like whatever it is. It's just part of. So you walk into the restaurant, there's a receptionist, and to the left is a bar area. To the right are tables in, booths, a couple of rows of booths. And then along the whole wall of the facade are booths as well. So we go sit down, and I don't like to sit with my back to the door. I want to see who's coming in. I learned that from a mafia movie.
I feel like that's a subconscious universal guys thing, because I've noticed that it's like every guy naturally, without even thinking about it, you'll always sit in a good position to be able to see the door and everybody in the restaurant.
Yes, I think it's a survival instinct kind of thing.
I think it's partially that. So we're sitting. like in a table over here. I'm sitting, and then my two daughters. And I'm like, I'm not my favorite place, and I can't believe I ordered a freaking salad. Oh my god, I'm a meat guy. So our waitress comes over. And she's really, another orb.
I saw that one too, actually.
Yeah, I got the waitress comes over, and she's really, really nice, and she's taking care of us. And then after a couple of minutes, this other blonde waitress comes out, and she's working the next row over, perpendicular to us. And without missing, I see her. She catches my eye. I'm seeing her. Good-looking kid, good-looking woman. And she comes out, and the next thing I see is it's late at night. It's about 2, 3 in the morning, and she's chatting. She's trying to figure out how to get home. And there's a guy at the bar, heavy set Latino guy, 5 o'clock shadow. He's like, I'll take you. Don't worry about it. I'll take you. Come on, come with me. And she's like, well, I don't know. It's like, come on. And then the next thing I see is she's dead in the field. Eyes wide open, blue around the eyes, pale, blue around the mouth. She's been choked to death. And I'm like, what the fuck is this? And the father in me, having 2 daughters, is like, I can't shake this. I'm like, I got to tell this woman not to take a ride. But I've never done that before, and it's kind of odd. So I don't know what to do. So I go outside, and I'm thinking of who I can call. I call a friend of mine, and I'm like, you're the only one that can help. This is what I tell her what happens. I said, I don't know how to tell somebody that, because there's also legal implications. If God forbid something happens, you tell that woman something prior, you become a suspect.
I would say, just being a guy, if you mention something, anything remotely close happens, then you're going to be the first person she thinks about.
Right. Well, I also have a psychic. I have a couple of psychic friends, and this guy, Carl, and it happened to a couple of people where they volunteered, like they got information about where bodies were, and then they were listed as suspects in the case, because how do you know where the bodies are? Because police don't want to know that there's psychics, even though they use psychics.
Yeah,
so I'm a little bit nervous about this. So my friend goes, don't worry, I got you. I do this all the time. And trust me, if you met this woman, she's awesome. She does it all the time.
All the time.
You go up to her and you say, excuse me, ma'am, I have a caution for you. If you're at here, don't take the ride from anybody. Take an Uber home. So I said, okay, I repeated it. I said, cool. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to get her, because they usually hang out in the back area by the, that's where they get the sodas and the teas. And I wanted to do it out of sight. So I went to pay the bill. I said, I'll meet in front. We'll go to Carvel. And she wasn't there. And I was waiting and waiting and waiting. And I was hoping she'd come out and say, can I talk to you for a minute? She didn't. So I'm starting to head out, and she comes out, and I was about to say, screw it, I'm done. She comes out, and I walk over to her, and I approach her, and she kind of gets stand up, like, what are you doing? I said, oh, I'm sorry. I said, I'm a medium. I have a caution for you. And I tell her, if you're here, if you're taking, late at night, you're at the bar, don't take that ride home. Call an Uber, please. So she was really gracious about it. She goes, what? I've repeated it 3 times. She goes, oh, can you do it one more time? So I tell her, I don't care if you're here and you know everybody at that bar. Do not take that bar. Do not take the ride home from anybody here or anybody, even the ones you know. Call an Uber. And I left, and I was dreading it because I paid my credit card, and I'm like, oh, there's the evidence that, something happens to her. So I stayed away from that restaurant for almost a year. And then about 9-10 months later, I found my way into the restaurant, and I'm panicked, and I'm eating with a couple of friends, and I'm like, I want to get the fuck out of the restaurant. I don't want to be caught. I don't see her anyplace. And I'm like, maybe, when I got back home the night I told her, and I focused on that vision, she was alive. She was fine. So it seemed to work. As the father in me, I would want my child to know that she was in danger. That's why I did what I did. So we're about to leave, and as I'm walking out again, I hear, excuse me. I'm like, I thought somebody left something. I turned around. I'm like, yes. She goes, you're that guy that gave me, you're the guy that told me to take the Uber. And I'm like, oh crap. And I said, yeah, I am. Are you okay? She goes, I want to thank you. And I said, why? Because I was at the bar, and there was another girl there, and I remember what you said, and I took the Uber, and the other girl got the shit beaten out of her.
Whew.
Now, thankfully, it's just the crap beaten out of the other girl, but apparently she was very thankful that I did what I did. And I was thankful too, but I don't want to know that. I don't want to know. I don't want to deal with it, but this is what happens when, he'll get a message or something like that. And then I got to go like, Al, should I talk to him and tell him? And he's like, yeah, go ahead, go tell him, because he's not the one looking like a lunatic. It's like,
yeah, but when I get it, when I feel like I'm being pulled somewhere, even if I don't want to go there, it's not a place that I want to be at. There's a point where you can't stop it, and you just got to go and do and experience and see what you're supposed to experience, and you just go. So I always go when I'm being pulled. So I tell him, when he tells me what should I do, I always tell him, do what you're supposed to do. If you're supposed to tell this woman something, tell this woman. If you're supposed to call somebody, call that person, whatever, just do it. You know what I mean? And he thinks I'm guiding him down the wrong road. But
no,
like,
it's just, it's easier, like,
do it,
Yeah.
Just do it. It's just because and I know. If you don't do it, you'll regret it the rest of your life. Saying, Jesus, I should have. God forbid you see it on the news. They find this girl, and you find out it's the girl who waited on you. Damn, I should have said something. No, just do it and get it. It's meant for you to do, so you have to do it, and you have to get it off of you and put it to where put that information where it needs to be, and then once it's off you. Whether they listen to you or not, that's on them, I
can still see this guy, and I can see his face, and I know this guy, if he's not already, he's going to be a serial killer.
That's what I was going to say, was the more messed up part about it is if you see somebody's face like this and something ends up happening and it becomes like a missing person case that's all over the news, and what this person's face looks like, you end up getting yourself in this really, really weird position where it's like you could solve this missing case, but on the flip side, it's like you also make yourself the primary suspect.
Yep. And unfortunately, in this day and age, you got to keep, because no one does their fucking job, so you'd have to keep your mouth shut.
Yeah, because again, it's like most people don't want to believe in this stuff regardless. So it's like coming from somebody that doesn't even bring any of this paranormal anything into the equation. Again, exactly what this dude's face looks like. You're coming up and you're interfering with the case. Like, again, you're going to make yourself the primary suspect. Or even on the flip side, even if they don't think you did it and you're describing somebody's face, they're going to think that you were involved somehow, or, you were there and you're trying to throw the blame onto somebody else. So again, you're still going to make yourself the primary suspect.
Yeah, absolutely. No matter what you do.
Right. Stuff like this happens to Al too. I mean, he comes across people and they're like, the guy's bad news, and he just said like that mother, and you're put in a position and you're like, okay, if I say something, then it's gonna cause another problem, and it may be worse than just walking away. Sometimes you really have to walk away, but as a father, there's no way he would walk away from that situation.
No, I wouldn't walk away either. I know I would.
You would have come out. Here's my card. If you got a ghost coming out at you, just get.
I would rather look like an asshole than.
I mean, I've told people things too, and I told there's a really wonderful girl that cuts my hair. She's young. She's all over the place. She's sweet. She has so much potential. And she does a great job. When you find somebody that cuts your hair great, you got to stick with them. Otherwise, you get Mo with the one eye, and he's like, I think he's evil. No, Mo, back up. So, I'm sitting in at the what do you call it, the supermarket near me, and this woman, grandmother-ish, older woman comes, and she, and I know it's for this girl. She goes, you got to tell her she's a good girl. She's a really good girl. She just has a couple of issues, but she can get over it. And this person is worried about her. This is my hairstylist. Mm. And I'm like, I haven't seen my hairstylist in forever. I don't go all the time. I'll wait a couple of months. And I'm like, I can't tell her. So I let it go. And a year later, she actually comes over and she cuts my hair in my house, makes her more money. And I told her, and I said, I didn't say this to you, but, and I mentioned it, like this older woman, kind of like a grandmother or a motherly figure or somebody like that's really that type of, and they know you have a lot of potential and they're worried about you and they want you to straighten up and whatever. And I told her, and she's like, she's trying to figure it out. I don't know who this person, but I know it's for her. And, so whatever, that was the last time I've seen her. She's, she goes to rehab every once in a while, which is great. I said, it's great. And I check on, see if, like, where you're working. She's like, oh, I'm in rehab. I said, that's great. Just keep going. Don't stop. Keep going to rehab. It'll click one day and everything will be great. I'm very supportive of her. And I messaged her not that long ago saying, hey, how you doing? I'm not calling for an appointment. I'm checking in on you. I want to make sure you're okay. Like if you need something I can help you, let me know. Because she's that good of a person. She won't talk to me anymore. Because I hit hard. And I she's back cutting hair now. And I followed her. I told her, I said, I will follow you to the ends of the earth because you give a haircut. And she's great, and you don't want to lose. There's certain people in this world you don't want to lose. She won't tell me where she is. She won't even communicate with me. And I got why. Whatever I told her scared the shit out of her enough. And if it works that way, so be it. As long as she gets her act together, that's all I care about.
Listen, fellas, I'm going to run. It's after 11, and I'm going to bail. Shayn, it was a lot of fun hanging out with you tonight. And Brian, it's always fun hanging out with you.
Yeah,
so,
but let's say it. Tomorrow night on Third Eye Live, which is on YouTube at Bryan Bowden. That's my channel, YouTube channel. I have the Italian Stallion of Paranormal on there. The one and only Al Santariga for 2 hours. He's going to bail on me then too.
Tomorrow. There's no goddamn way I'm doing 2 hours on that show tomorrow. Forget about it. I'll give you a half hour.
Do 2 hours, but go check it out on YouTube, please. I'll put it in. I'll post it in your chat too.
Just to throw it in there, Al, before you leave, you know what you got to do. You got to do the thing that you do at the end of every single episode, man. You haven't left the listeners with any words of wisdom today. So before you dip out, I got to make you leave with some words of wisdom.
I'm tired, man. I want.
No. Come on, Al.
No,
watch what you little shits are walking.
It's funny
and don't
because
do drugs.
It's funny because I was cutting grass last week and I thought of you. And something popped into my head, and I said, "Man, I should write that down for the next time I do Shayn's show." And I never wrote it down, so I don't remember what the hell it was. Now I was like, but it was like the perfect thing or the perfect saying at the end of the show. I'm going to say what I always say: be careful what you wish for, and if you go into the woods, protect yourself more than physically, protect yourself spiritually, because there's a lot of things in the woods that can attach to you and hitchhike a ride home with you. So protect, always protect.
Guy right there.
What you do. Yeah.
That guy right there always gets hitchhikers. And I would just add to that, fellas, if she has an Adam's apple, she's a T. So.
I'm going to start using that one now, because I always use the whole, don't eat yellow snow when I'm trying to give people the spectrum of like what the words of wisdom can be. I'm going to start using that one.
Yeah. And then finish it with, until next time.
Oh my God.
And I guess fellas, since we're already here then too, we might as well wrap up with the last little bit of everything. If anybody wanted to come and find you guys on the internet, share some experiences, possibly some locations to investigate, where can people find both you guys on the internet? And Al, since you got a dip, if you want, you can go first on this one.
Yeah, you can find me on Facebook at the Bronxville Paranormal Society, the New York State UFO Project, the New York State Dogman Project, or the New York State Sasquatch Organization. No, organization. That's not
I know. We created it.
And any of those groups you could find me on, or you could just reach out to me privately on Facebook Messenger. and I'll have no problem getting back to people. I get back to them ASAP, so I won't leave you hanging.
And then don't forget about your Only Italians fan page.
OnlyFans / the Italian Stallion.
Yes. He's going to kill me. I'm coming back up, so it should be fun. I'm going to go bother him.
Okay. I'm going to go
11 folks. Make a wish.
I'm gonna bail. Gentlemen, it was fun. Have a great night. Brian, I'll see you tomorrow.
Always a pleasure, Al.
Ciao. Bye-bye. Thank you, Shane.
What are you smoking, mother?
And then
everybody try the veal.
And just to wrap it up, Brian, where can everybody come and find you on the internet, man?
You can go on YouTube at youtube.com @BRYAN BOWDEN, one word. Sign up for that. I don't do it to all the other accounts anymore. I have a show, Third Eye Live, Wednesdays, 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. I'm on every social media platform you can think of, including Blue Sky. I just got that one. That's good.
Make sure you check for those Adam's apples over there.
Yeah. No shit. Sometimes Sir Brian, sometimes Brian M. Bowden. But you'll find me there. I have a link tree. And I do shows. I also do every other week. I do Awake Nation, which is from 9 to 9:30 in the morning. I try to do things more positive, but it's a little bit more a political show. And then they're trying to get me to do another show, and I'm like, I can't do more than, unless
there's only so many nights in a week.
Well, I'm also doing the last Thursday of every month for the next couple of months on Spaced Out Radio. I'm filling in for someone who, unfortunately, they have cancer, and hopefully they pull out for, and get healed from that. But I'm doing about cryptids and stuff like that. I actually broke the news, and I'm going to do it again tomorrow night. First time it was revealed, an actually really good Dogman photo, and this is a case out of Ohio. And from what I understand, I'm the only one that's discussed it so far. So I did it exclusively on Spaced Out Radio. But if you're on the East Coast, that's like from 12 midnight to 3 in the morning. So you were like, sleeping. And I'm going to do it again. I'm going to bust it out over on my show tomorrow with the one and only Al Santariga.
Sounds like we'll also have something to dive into, hopefully, on your next round that you come on the show too.
Dude, in the time I've been off, and you've had Al on 9 times.
Stay tuned, guys. This is our last break. But if you enjoyed the show and you think I deserve it, then please leave a review or rating for this show on iTunes, Spotify, or any other podcatcher you happen to use. Your continued support is what makes this show possible, and your opinions go a long way to help the show grow and improve. So thank you. Now feel free to skip past these ads so we can get back to the show. And we are back, so let's get back to it.
I can go into the fact that I actually I talked with the devil. I am thoroughly convinced the individual I met was the devil near my house. And it was from last year, and there was a lot of shit going on, and it all gels. And I could talk to you about that too, but I'm not trying to be religious here. If you do believe in a higher power, please start praying to him, because we're going through a big battle right now between light workers and the evil and the negativity. Just get your shit together. And there is a higher power, but I wish blessings upon everybody, including you, Shane, because you have to deal with all this crap.
And if you're diving into all this type of stuff, and I'm sure that you're also involved in this, you're almost on the front lines of giving people information. So you do get a lot of weird attacks on the back end, just simply from talking about this stuff.
Well, I've predicted, and I have to, unfortunately, I have to breadcrumb people on Facebook and some other stuff, because they'll shut me down. And what started out as like 2 days worth or a week, the last time I got booted, it was 72 days. In Facebook jail. That makes you hard sometimes.
Not in the way that you'd hope.
No, I mean, but it's like, I'm telling the truth, and I'm trying to warn you about things, but don't just take my word for it. I'm begging people, when I speak, I want you to go research, do some homework. Because if all you're doing is receiving from other people, like, Shayn said this and Al said this and, this guy said this, then all you're doing is parroting and you're not getting knowledge. Research it. If something is like, if I'm telling you an event in wherever, Denver, and a whole national park was closed off and 15-mile radius around it, go research it. If I tell you don't fly on planes, if you can avoid that, don't fly on the plane. I've been saying that for over a year. And what have we been having?
Nonstop weird stories coming from planes, from falling apart to people being forced to sit next to dead bodies. There's just always something in the news with planes, man.
But it's been really, really bad and worse. And I have a friend in the UK, great guy. And I woke up and I had this issue. There was going to be a train crash, but I couldn't find out if it was commuter or commercial. I saw the engine, and then it dispersed like I was in a helicopter. And I said, please be careful traveling on either commuter trains or Amtrak or one of those. I have stay towards the rear of it, so that if it does hit something, eventually, it'll derail, but you may have a better shot at it in the back end with less energy. And I did that like 11 o'clock at night. And the next day, because he's in England, he sends me a message. He says, I do believe you just predicted this, didn't you? And I opened it up and it was about a train crash. I said, yeah. He goes, I think you were pretty spot on by it.
Was he on the train by chance? Or did he for whatever reason, not happen to ride it that day?
He wasn't. And he does stuff with the paranormal. He does research, but he is he works, he has medical backgrounds, wonderful human being, great guitar guy, singer. But he doesn't always buy the hocus pocus. I'm not doing hocus pocus. I'm warning people. And every time I've warned people, I'm telling you, it's come true. I've warned people about heart attacks and they didn't believe me. And then like within 24 hours, they were like, I don't feel well. And they have a heart attack. And I'm telling them you should go to the doctor right now. I did it to one of my friends at school. And he's like, hey, dude, I know you do crazy stuff, but this isn't a joke. And I said, I'm not joking about you. And I explained it. I said, I know you don't believe me. You think I'm crazy, batshit crazy. I'm telling you, you're having a heart problem. And then he admitted like he's having a heart problem. So, I mean, like, why would I know that? Because I'm friends with him, but I'm not like, I'm not like always on his circle. And that's a personal thing. He goes, I didn't say it to anybody, but I'm having a bad problem in my heart. I said, well, if you go to the doctor, you're going to get it taken care of. Because I see the outcome of it. I know that if I'm telling you to take care of it, it's fixable. So just do it.
Yeah, pay attention to what those mediums and light workers say to you.
Yeah, not all of them, because some of them are just fucking thieves. Like I have a problem. Like I follow a couple of people online and Instagram, and I like some people, and some of the one of the greatest ones, seriously, is named Modern Tarot, and this guy Drew that does it. The guy's fucking off the chart great. I just had a reading with him. He's he's awesome. I'm gonna have him on my show, but it seems that you got to see who the person that's doing the reading is. And they give you now on Instagram who follows them, that it's on your friends list, or who follows them that you have in common. And when you see 7 other tarot readers following that one person, now you know who the source is. Because they all say the same thing, like, oh, the girl's going to be very cold to you. The next one's like, I feel a cold front coming in love. No one's original. So you got to be careful, like where you're getting your information from.
I've always said it, man. You got 1%, maybe a little bit more that's legit, but the rest are charlatans. You also just gotta read them just as much as they read you, meaning that, if you come up to them and you can tell and dissect the fact that they're intentionally trying to read your body language, and they're doing this thing where they're grasping at straws. So they're like, I sense somebody that might have a P or a Q or they're throwing that type of information out that's just waiting for you to grab. You also, again, have to understand psychology to know that if they're using psychology on you or if they're actually doing something.
So there are some people that are definitely using psychology and they're reading body movement. There's a woman she's on YouTube and other place. She is so sweet and nice. And She's pretty and beautiful, and she's wonderful, but she's good. Her name is Shelley Stewart. Go watch her. Then there's she changed her name to Wendy now because she was something else, and stunningly beautiful to watch, by the way. She's a little bit too more on the feminine side of it. Like, yeah, you go girl, you get whatever. But if you started being a little more neutral, it'd be better. She's pretty damn talented. There's a woman, there's a bunch of them that I've offered, and I said, I'd love you to come on the show because I think you can help a lot of people. And I'm not doing it to get the subs. Okay. If I get subs, I get subs. If I don't, I'm trying to help people. And I want to bring people that are genuine, that actually have a talent and ability. So I won't take you away from whatever else. You probably have to get up like super early and deal with, monsters today.
Oh, no worries, man. I'm just enjoying the conversation. But, man, as always, I appreciate you coming on. I appreciate Al coming on. Not that he's here anymore. And we'll have to set up that round 2, or the next round, not a round 2, because we're beyond that, sooner rather than later, because I definitely want to dive into all this new stuff going on with you, because we got a different spectrum of chats. We get into a little bit more of the like philosophical and geopolitical stuff when it's just the two of us. So we'll have to do another round of that stuff.
Yeah, we can do that. I'm doing some research on the new Mahdi, but I don't know how, I don't remember where you are, but I'll tell you in September, I'm going to be presenting at the Crossing Realms Conference in Richmond, Missouri, September 19th and 20th, I believe. So if you're ever down there, or if people want to come and say hi or whatever, and check it out, you can check it out. So, but.
So if you want, I can include that link down in the show description too, if you got some info for it. And I'm all the way up in Michigan, but if there's any listeners that are down in the area, we can make all the information quick and easy for them.
Not a problem. Yeah, no problem. I can post the link on, I think it's for Eventbrite, but I'll have to find it. But yeah, no, it's a pleasure. And thank you for having me back on. And I appreciate it, especially with the Italian Stallion there.
Long time in the making, man. Like we said, 3 years. I'm glad that we finally got around to it. Yeah. Even if it only happens once, like it was definitely worth it.
Oh, I think it was great. And, Al's, he's got a lot of stuff to do. So normally, I mean, like we can talk for hours, not a problem. We can talk for a ton of hours, but, it's late. So everybody have a blessed day and blessed life, and I'll see you soon.
If you enjoyed today's conversation and want to show some love, smash that follow icon and share today's episode with a friend. Grassroots supports from listeners like you guys is exactly how the show grows. So anything you guys do, I greatly, greatly appreciate. And if anyone would like to get in touch with me for any reason whatsoever, you guys can do so through email, which is inquiriesofallrealitypodcast@outlook.com, or through social media. Instagram and Facebook are the ones I'm the most active on. Or you guys can always call or text the hotline, whichever is easier for you guys, and that number is 313-364-1551. And if you missed that, it is available down in the show notes, so you guys can find it quick and easy. And if you guys have some free time, don't forget to check out the awesome friends of the show, I Know Squatch, Snuggy Natural Products, Cryptotheology, and Big Ape Threads, and our friends with affiliate links, Dimension Devices, Oregon-ite, and Mule, with additional discounts and credits available. More information on those is available down in the show notes. And every single thing that I mentioned throughout the show is all available in the link tree, which is also available down in those show notes. And with that, hope you guys enjoyed the conversation. I hope today's show has connected some dots in your own reality, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Have a good night, everybody.
Reality isn't what it seems. Abductees taking aboard a craft with a tractor beam. Is life a simulation or an astral dream? Aliens travel through black holes in different galaxies. Life is a bizarre odyssey, with the mic talking about philosophy. Well, Bigfoot is stalking campers as a Wendigo walks through the woods of sharpened antlers, using a Ouija board to talk to the dead like a necromancer. There's so many questions and not enough answers. So if you're interested in mysteries and abnormalities, tune in and listen to Inquiries of Our Reality.